Hi guys. So I'm going to be doing something different today. I'm going to be introducing to you guys a dynasty that I'm going to be starting. And basically this is going to be a Teambuilder Dynasty. And I am going to be using the Cupcake team recommended by the Teambuilder online. And trying to take this Cupcake team to 6 stars. I'm not sure if that's going to happen, but at least that's the goal. So I'll first show you guys the Dynasty house rules. And this Dynasty is going to be played on Heisman. So Heisman skill, Heisman recruiting difficulty, 5 minutes with injuries and fatigue. And so for this Dynasty, I wanted to make it a California team. So I'm calling my team the Los Altos Juiced Frogs. And this is my mascot. You guys might have seen this frog behind me in some of the videos I've done. So that's basically the frog. I took a picture of it and did some photoshopping in paint. And here it is. It's the Los Altos Juiced Frogs. At first, I wanted to use Steroid Frogs as the nickname, but then for some reason, Steroid Frogs just doesn't have a very nice ring to it. And so because of that, I decided to use Juiced Frogs. And I think that has a much better ring to it. For example, TCU Horned Frog sounds pretty good, so I'll be the Los Altos Juiced Frogs. And since this is a Cupcake team, I'm starting out at 1 star, and I am playing in the WAC conference. So I'll be playing this WAC conference for the first couple seasons, at least until I can build a better team. And then my goal in terms of the progression is to jump from the WAC to the Mountain West, and finally to the Pac-12. And I figured those 3 conferences make the most sense for me since this is a California team. So in the WAC, I don't have a lot of opponents. There are only 8 opponents. And we have some weak teams like Texas State, UTSA, Idaho, New Mexico State, and then some stronger teams like San Jose State, Louisiana Tech, and Utah State. So hopefully I'll be able to win enough games to get promoted to 2 star. And basically the rule I've set for myself is that I will go to the next conference as long as I can get a promotion and I can get top 3 in the conference. So for my first season, if I can get top 3 in the WAC and get promoted to 2 stars, then I will go into the Mountain West for my second season. So that's the goal. And now I want to show you guys the schedule. So one thing I want to mention is that anytime you add a team builder team to the team pool, you actually have to take out one of the original teams. And I didn't want to take out any teams that are already in the conference, since that may mess up the strength of schedule. So I only want to take out teams that are independent teams. And there are only 4 independent teams. There's Notre Dame, Army, Navy, and BYU. And since I have a lot of respect for the armed forces, I didn't want to take out Army and Navy, and I didn't want to take out Notre Dame since they're a very good team and they could have an impact on the non-conference schedule. So sorry BYU fans, I took out BYU. But because you take out a team, because you take out original team, you inherit the original team's rivalries. And because I took out BYU, I got a rivalry with Utah. So basically I scheduled Utah as my first game of the season. I don't really have to do anything this game because I haven't made any promises yet. Promises only come into effect in the second season. So if I promise a winning game against a rival, and since my only rival is Utah, I'll have to win the game next year if I make that promise. Most likely I'm not going to make that promise is because I'm a 1-star team and I think Utah's like a 4-star team. And most likely I'm not going to be able to beat Utah. But this is just a tryout game since I have nothing to lose this year since I haven't made any promises to see how good I am and how close I am to beating Utah. And depending on the performance in this game, I'll decide whether or not I want to make those kind of promises to my recruits. And currently I haven't made any winning games against rivals promises because I don't want to take the risk of getting blown out by Utah next year. So it's going to be Utah. And next game is going to be against Fresno State. Again, I don't really have to play this game, but I aspire to be in the Mountain West in my second season, so I want to take on a Mountain West opponent and see how tough they are. And Fresno State is one of the better teams in the Mountain West. If I get completely blown out, then maybe I'll rethink my strategy of going to the Mountain West if I end up in the top 3 in the WAC and get promoted to 2 stars. And I also have Tulane. This is what I call a recruiting game. So I'm trying to schedule an especially weak opponent for my recruiting weeks, which are weeks where a lot of my prospects are visiting, so I can kind of guarantee myself or almost guarantee myself a win, so I can get higher recruiting grades. And one thing I'm doing in this dynasty is I'm not going to play FCS teams. I think FCS teams are boring and they're not really good for doing a series online to show you guys my playing against FCS teams, which is kind of meaningless. So I figured Tulane is probably one of the weakest non-FCS teams, so I put them here in a recruiting week because I expect that a lot of prospects will be ready to come for a visit by week 6. So now I think it's just the regular schedule. So I got UTSA, Louisiana Tech could be a tough game, Texas State should be easy, UMass should be very easy. FAU, this is another one of what I call whipping boy games. So I'm trying to guarantee myself a win without playing against the FCS opponent. Then I got Utah State, could be a tough game. San Jose State is definitely going to be a tough game. New Mexico State should be okay. Idaho should be okay. And that's it. So that's the schedule. I'll show you guys the team real quick here. And this is the Cupcake team. I didn't make any modifications to it. So if you guys are familiar with a Cupcake team, then you will be familiar with all these players. Obviously, the names are different. The names are completely random. So I don't have a very good quarterback. I have a very good halfback with extremely good speed, what I call 90-90. So 90 speed, 90 acceleration. And that's basically what I shoot for when I recruit as well. And these are the guys that I use on my deep passes. And this year, I think I'll be using my halfback on a lot of deep passes in a receiver capacity because I just don't have a 99 receiver. And I think the best guy I have is this Maxwell guy. He's the closest to 90-90, and he's only 90-85. So I'll be using Maxwell and Cunningham as my primary targets. And that's pretty much it. Decent tight end, okay offensive line, not so good defensive line, very bad defensive tackles, okay linebackers, and very, very weak secondary, except for the free safety. So, and a nice punter, so that helps a lot, and I can use him as a kicker as well. So I'll be recruiting a lot of secondary players. So before I start the game, I want to show you guys the recruiting that I've done. So the way I made my schedule, I have buys in the first 3 weeks. It just happened that way. So week 4 is going to be my first game. So in terms of my school, I gave myself really good academic prestige. I like schools with academic prestige. So for example, I mentioned earlier that my favorite schools are Northwestern, Stanford, and Ohio State, and they're all at least A- academic prestige. I think Ohio State's the lowest, and even then it's still A- academic prestige. And I figure, hey, you're in Los Altos, you're in the Bay Area, you're going to have a good campus lifestyle because it's warm weather. Athletic facilities, I gave myself a B-, probably slightly higher than you would expect for a 1-star school, but I wanted this school to be like a school for rich kids that can't get into Stanford. So basically, good academic prestige, but not good enough, or not as good as Stanford, but it's still a good campus lifestyle because it's in the Bay Area and they have a lot of money, like a rich private school for kids who can't get in. So they have money to build up some athletic facilities, even though that's not going to be their main emphasis. So it's not going to be a B+ or A- because they still want the majority of their funds to be spent on building up their academic prestige, like hiring decent professors or like Stanford/Berkeley rejects, like professors who can't get into Stanford. Los Altos juiced frauds will be more than happy to snatch them up with our A rating. So that's our team. And pipeline states are weird. I don't know why the pipeline states are always kind of like this. Like I always get Ohio and Pennsylvania and Georgia. I have absolutely no idea. And then some random ones like Illinois and New Jersey. especially since I chose BYU as the team to replace. You would think that it would inherit BYU's pipeline stakes, and it really didn't. And I ended up having to build up my California pipeline by getting a lot of recruiting targets. So hopefully next year, it will be much more of a normal pipeline where I will have California as a pipeline. Luckily, I don't have a lot of team needs, and I only have 12 seniors graduating. But luckily, I am 2 below my maximum for the team, so I can hire up to 14 guys. And I'll probably hire a little bit more than that, just because there's some guys who are just really bad, and not really worth keeping on the roster. So what I mean is like non-seniors that are really bad, I'm just going to cut later. So going with 17, I think that's a good amount. And like going with this quarterback, he's very nice. He has a very good arm strength, 82, and a decent throwing accuracy, 74. And that's what I look for. I need quarterbacks with over 80 arm strength because my main offensive strategy is to go with the deep ball. And right now I am first on this list, so that makes me feel very good. Halfbacks I really don't need since I never pass the ball anyway. Fullbacks I never need anyway since I don't use a fullback. I just have one back in the backfield, and usually I can get away with a tight end since I need more blocking in the backfield anyway. 2 receivers, both of these guys are 90 speed guys. 92 and 85 acceleration is very nice. And they are both first, so that is great to know, and hopefully I'll be able to convert both of these guys. I'm building up some offensive line, just so that I don't get sacked as often as I do in the online playing matches. But when I'm going up against much more superior opponents like Utah, I'm probably going to get sacked a ton regardless of who I have on offensive line. So I've got some defensive line players, linebackers, and then the secondary is one area of focus for me, especially secondary speed. So I'm hoping to build up the speed there. So I got 90-85 guy here, first on his list, which is good. Nice guy, which I really want, but I am not first on his list, and I may not be able to fight over for him. But luckily, I'm going up against Connecticut, which is also not a good team, and I'm only 20 points behind, so I figure I'll give it a shot. So that's pretty much it for the team. And in my next video, I will be showing you guys the gameplay of my playing against Utah in the rivalry game. So hope you guys enjoyed the introduction, and please look forward to the actual game.